Hello and welcome to Top of the Cop. With the Euros fastly approaching, I thought it'd be interesting to have a look at some of the talent that's going to be on display. You know, there's going to be plenty of names, obviously household names that we're all familiar with, and some of them do appear in this list today, but there are a few other exceptions that you may not have heard of, young up-and-coming players, first time breaking into their international teams, and maybe players that kind of have excelled this season. And you know, I thought it'd be an interesting video. There's going to be a lot of transfers going on around the Euros, most probably after, when certain players have obviously excelled. And then maybe you'd like to see links, start rumours of these players joining your team, just like good old fans do. And if you do enjoy today's video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more footballing content, and with that being said, let's get into it. Number one, I'm not going to lie, this one is probably my most anticipated player of the whole tournament, and I'm just putting him in first, and that is Gianluigi Donnarumma. And at the moment, he's a free agent, and that's what makes this particular pick in the top 10 really interesting. So for those who don't know, Donnarumma has actually left AC Milan on a free. Obviously, once it got to the 1st of July, AC Milan did not renew his contract. Now, there's a lot of rumours going around the whole contract situation. People are saying it's just because he wanted more money, but from what I've been told, I believe it's more down to Mino Raiola. As you know, that famous agent that a lot of clubs just absolutely hate. And apparently his fee was so astronomical, AC Milan did not even want to entertain the deal. So they basically just said, you know what, he can go in July, meaning when Donnarumma actually signs for a new club, Mino will not be getting his millions. And you know, AC Milan have already signed their new goalkeeper in Mike Maignan from Lille for 13 million euros. So yeah, they've moved on. So at the moment, Donnarumma is without a club, and I suppose the Euros is a bit of Donnarumma's stage to show other teams why they should obviously come in for him. Now, apart from that, this is also going to be Donnarumma's first major international competition as the #1 Italian goalkeeper. You know, he's obviously in the shadow of the legendary Gianluigi Buffon. So, you know, anybody taking the gloves over from such a legend in the game, it's going to be a tough ask. But more importantly, it's going to be good to see, obviously, how he performs at this level. And as I say, the fact that he hasn't got a club makes this actual pick my most anticipated, and really can't wait to see how he stars at the Euros. Now moving on to number 2, and that is Manchester City's wonder kid Phil Foden. Now this is probably Phil's breakthrough season as a Manchester City player. You know, it's his first proper season that he's been unleashed on the Premier League and obviously the Champions League. And he's done pretty well. He's played in 28 matches in the Premier League. He's also played in 13 games in the Champions League. And being a Liverpool fan, you know, seeing our rivals win things is obviously never nice to take. But actually watching Phil Foden play football is an absolute dream. He just glides across the pitch. And as I say, this is his first breakthrough season, and he's obviously made the Euro squad. And you know what, in my personal opinion, I think the England team should be just built around him. I think he should be the first name on the team sheet, and then the rest of the players are obviously fitted in around him. He's an unbelievable talent at such a young age, and yeah, I just can't wait to actually be able to watch him as a fan of him and the team that he's playing in for a change. And again, you know, he is only 21, and knowing the English media, you know, a lot of pressure is going to be put on his shoulders, as well as obviously all the other younger players, but he's been such a star this season and a catalyst for Manchester City's attacking force that I'm sure he's going to get that treatment that Michael Owen, Beckham and Rooney have had in the past. But you know, he seems to be very level-headed, even though he is really young, and I don't think that's going to affect him. But yeah, it will be interesting to see obviously how Foden competes on the big stage. And if my predictions are correct, he's going to shine and hopefully be a driving force towards England and their aspirations of winning the overall competition. Now, number 3, I've gone for Liverpool's very own Diogo Jota. Now, when you look at Portugal's team, I was only looking at it a few weeks ago, and it's ridiculous, especially from an attacking point of view. You know, Jota's got Ronaldo, Bernardo Silva, Andre Silva, João Felix, and Bruno Fernandes to obviously compete with in those top 4 positions. But from what I've seen, obviously from Portugal since Diogo joined Liverpool, is he's been popping up with a few goals. He's been one of their main players, And it's going to be really interesting from a Liverpool fan's point of view to see how he can obviously compete at that level and obviously keep those names that I've just mentioned on the bench, or vice versa. It'd be interesting to see how much game time he gets with those type of players around him. But I'm sure he'll do well. I'm sure he'll get plenty of game time. He does seem to be favoured. And again, this is his first season at a big club, no offence to Wolves fans, but his move to Anfield catapulted him from a good player in the Premier League to obviously a team that is fighting for obviously top honours. And in all honesty, as a Liverpool fan, I'm so pleased with Jota's start. His injuries obviously set him back a bit, but he's so fast, he's direct, he's something that we've lacked. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he gets on for Portugal and see how much game time he gets in the tournament. Number 4 on the list is Diogo's teammate, Andre Silva. Now, Andre Silva is probably the most out-and-out number 9 striker that Portugal have got on the books, and over the last few years a lot of people have been saying how big of a player he's going to be, and he's never reduced. But this season for Frankfurt, he's played 34 games and scored 29 goals, and he's also chipped in with 10 assists. And so when you take into consideration he's not one of the biggest clubs in Germany in the sense of obviously top honours, a 29 goal return for 34 games is actually really good, and I'll be very surprised if he doesn't start in the number 9 position near enough every game for Portugal. I suppose it just depends on how Ronaldo's fitted into the team. Obviously he's getting old now. If he's to be playing the number 9 role, then maybe Silva's game time will be limited. But if Ronaldo plays out left, which might be to the detriment of Diogo Jota, Andre Silva should be getting plenty of game time. And at the same time, if he's scoring that amount of goals, it'd be very strange if he didn't get plenty of game time. And yeah, so again, this is another player that I feel has had a breakthrough season. So if he has a good Euros, I know Milan are building, he may be a player that they may look to spearhead their attack for next season. Or as I say, somebody may come in for him if he has a good Euros. So only time will tell with that one. Moving on. So number 5, I've gone with a familiar name, and that is Erling Haaland. Now, we all know that Haaland has set the world alight for Dortmund. He's played in 41 games in total this season in Europe and obviously domestically, and he scored 41 goals. That's a goal a game. Now, those numbers are as prolific as Robert Lewandowski, and I don't think Lewandowski was scoring that amount of goals at this level at his age. And another string to Haaland's bow is he's so fast for the size of him. It's ridiculous. Obviously, there's a lot of clubs that are going to be interested in signing this summer, but I'll be honest, I don't think Dortmund would sell unless it was around the 200 million mark. I just don't see why they would sell him this summer. It looks like Sancho's on his way out, and if they were to sell Haaland, they'd be in such a sticky position when it's coming to obviously challenging for honours next season. But with that being said, he has been linked with a move away, whether it's Real Madrid, Barca, Man City. So he leads his beloved Norway into the Euros. They're not expected to win the competition, not by a long shot. But if you've got Erling Haaland up front, anything is possible, especially when you get into knockout football. Now, with that being said, I do feel like when they come up against the likes of Germany and France, it would be a tough ask. But it will be an interesting spectacle, to watch Norway, especially in the group stages, to see if they can get out of that and then see how they do in the knockouts. He's had a great season. Can he top her off with having a great Euros? Only furthering his talent for the world to see. Now for number 6, I've gone for a name that you might not have heard of, and that is Alexander Isak. Now he is a 21-year-old striker for Sweden, and it's a bit similar to obviously Donnarumma. He's filling the boots of a legend in the game of Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and again, just like Donnarumma, that is big boots to fill. But for this season for Real Sociedad, he's played in 34 games, he's scored 17 goals, and Sociedad have finished 5th in the league, only behind Atletico, Real, Barca and Sevilla. So they've had a great season, and he's spearheaded the attack for them. So it will be interesting to see how he copes. Obviously on the international stage, Sweden are always a team that seem to do particularly well at knockout competitions. On paper they're not the greatest of squads, but they always seem to pull off some shock results, and it'll be interesting to see if Isak has anything to do with that. So a bit more of a curveball in this list, but again, it will be interesting just to see how he gets on. Now at number 7, I've gone for our very own Jude Bellingham. Now Jude, at the age of 19, has been brought into the England team. Again, with this being his breakthrough season. Dortmund signed him from Birmingham City, so it's not even a Premier League team. He's gone straight into a Dortmund team and he's actually hit the ground running. He's looked ridiculously good in both the Bundesliga and the Champions League. And as an English fan, I've obviously kept an eye on him. I'd love Liverpool to sign him in a couple of years' time if he is to come back to Premier League, which I'm sure he will. But this season for Dortmund, he's got great experience. He's played Champions League football. He's fast, he's strong. He's a box-to-box midfielder. His athleticism is there, and his link up between defence and attack is what you want in an English midfielder. Again, I don't know how much time Gareth Southgate would give him on the pitch. As a disgruntled England fan, I've watched years where we've kind of not played our youngsters and stuck with obviously old, experienced players. And it's been to our detriment. We haven't freshened up things, which we should have in the past. Last notable one is obviously Rooney, before that Michael Owen. But there's been plenty of times, and the likes of Sven-Göran Eriksson have obviously stuck with the guns, Capello, and there's been players sitting in the wings that could have been blooded a lot earlier to bring us an extra dynamic. And I do feel, along with Foden, Jude Bellingham can bring us that. For me, I'd start him, but when I look at the midfield, you've got Henderson, you've got Declan Rice. Now, if you're playing 4-3-3 and Declan Rice is anchoring that midfield, for me, I'd start a fully fit Henderson and Jude Bellingham together. Now, I've got a feeling he's going to go with the likes of Foden and Mason Mount and maybe go for 3 attacking mids with a striker rather than 3 midfielders. But if England are going to look for a stronger midfield, and obviously a midfield that are going to control the game, give them legs up and down the pitch, for me it's a 3-man midfield. And yeah, I would like to see Bellingham get plenty of game time, but if it is very limited, it'd be interesting to see what he does with his time on the pitch. Now, number 8 is the Netherlands midfielder Ryan Gravenberch. Now, you've heard me mention him in many videos. I've talked about obviously how much I'd like Liverpool to sign him. So obviously I've had my eye on him for quite a while, but he's 18 years old and he's playing central midfield for Ajax. Again, this is probably a breakthrough season for him. He seems to be playing week in, week out for Ajax now. He's had plenty of experience in the Champions League. And yeah, he's a box-to-box midfielder, again, similar to Bellingham. But just like Jota, he's got a lot of competition in the midfield. You've obviously got Gini Wijnaldum, you've got De Roon, you've got De Jong, and you've got Van der Beek. So they're the names that he's going to have to compete with to obviously get a game. But again, just like Bellingham, the game time he does get, whether it's a regular starter or an impact sub, it will be interesting to see what he does while he's on the pitch. He caused Liverpool many problems when we played him in the Champions League last season. Now, I'm not going to say he set the world alight, but he definitely gave Henderson and co a headache. His speed, his directness, his confidence, in all honesty, at such a young age was there to see. And I think that's the game that made me start thinking, who is he? How old is he? Etc, etc. And that's when I started to watch him very closely. So for those who've not seen him, I'm hoping he gets plenty of game time. And obviously, if he does have a good Euros, I'll say it again, I'd love Liverpool to pick him up. He's a perfect replacement for Gini Wijnaldum, and I do think he'd cost a lot less than a household name that maybe a lot of Liverpool fans are obviously mentioning on social media. And at the age of 18, he's a perfect Klopp buy. He fits the FSG model for Liverpool. And for those who don't support Liverpool, I'm sure if he has a good Euros and you can obviously see his potential, I'm sure you'll want your teams to be linked with him. So yeah, Ryan Gravenberch for the Netherlands, keep your eye out for him. Now, number 9, I've gone for a German player called Florian Neuhaus. Now, again, it's another player who's been linked with a move to the Premier League. Liverpool fans have obviously shown interest in him, and he's a creative midfielder. And he's been dubbed the new Muller. He's not an out-and-out striker, but he finds himself in those lines, in those holes. And yeah, he's 24 years old. Again, he's probably gone under the radar at the age of 24 for the last few seasons, but he's been a breath of fresh air for Mönchengladbach this year. For me, he's more of a number 10, as he does like to sit in behind the strikers and play those, cutting-edge balls through the defensive line. But what can we say about Germany? It's got such a vast amount of talent, and it will be hard for Neuhaus to obviously get minutes on the pitch in such a star-studded team. But again, it's one of those where I'd like to see how he got on when he was on the pitch. And as I say, this list was going to obviously include a few big names, but obviously include a few names that people may not have heard of, but that have had really good seasons. So obviously Neuhaus obviously fits in that bracket. And yeah, he's had a great season. He's been linked with a move away from Germany, as I said earlier on. So, you know, the Euros could be the tipping point. There could be a few teams around Europe that are looking at him and want to see, obviously, what game time he's given and see what he does with that at the elite level. So he makes my number 9. And number 10 is the French superstar Kylian Mbappe. Shock, horror, I know. But, you know, it's obviously well documented of obviously Mbappe's rise in football over the last 3 to 4 years. And every season he's just getting better and better. He starred for obviously France at the World Cup, winning it and being a major factor in that. And 2 years later, at the age of 22, he's put up ridiculous figures this year as well. You know, he's played in a total of 47 games this year, so very, very consistent, and he scored an incredible 42 goals. So that's one more goal than Haaland over the course of the season, but obviously he's played a few more games. But he's so versatile when it comes to positions. You know, he can play on the wing, he can play as a striker, but I think he is more suited to the invert striker role. And I just get that same feeling that I got all those years ago when I used to see Ronaldo from Brazil at tournaments. I just wanted to watch him play football. I wanted to see him glide past people for fun. I wanted to see him banging goals in left, right and centre, and I think he's going to be the main man for France. I'll be very surprised if he doesn't start every single game that they play, unless they qualify for the knockouts with a game to spare. But yeah, what else can I say about Mbappe that nobody knows? He makes number 10 because I think the whole world are going to be watching him, and obviously he has been linked with a move away. He's only got 12 months left on his current contract at PSG. It's very, very, very unsure if he's going to either sign a new contract or move on for a free in the summer of 2022. Now, PSG have got to decide if they can make him sign a new contract, and if they can't, do they let him see out his last 12 months? Or do they sell him now while they can still make some money? Now, obviously, a lot of figures got pumped around, 250, 300 million. With 12 months on his contract, no club is going to do that. And if Mbappe makes his statement clear that he's not signing a new contract, PSG are going to have to rethink those numbers. And I'm sure there's going to be many teams around the world who'll be willing to pay 200, 250 million pounds for his service anyway. So it will be really interesting, again, one, to see how he gets on at the tournament, and two, to see obviously the situation when the Euros is over, or whether he stays or whether he goes. But yeah, that is my top 10. I do have some honourable mentions that I was umming and ahhing about putting in the list. I'll just go over them quickly. I was debating to put Robert Lewandowski in the list, obviously with him having such an absolutely record-breaking season, but obviously I just thought everybody knows, especially even from an international point of view, what they're getting with Lewandowski. They're going to get goals regardless of who Poland play. And two other honourable mentions: Mason Mount from England. The Chelsea star has had an absolute brilliant year winning the Champions League, and he's played a very, very pivotal role in that as well. He's made the England team on merit. He's going to be a starter just as Foden is. Can Foden and Mount play at the same time in the same team? Possibly, if Foden's obviously played left side of the midfield three. And the last worthy mention was Jamal Musiala from Bayern Munich. He's an English-born midfielder who has declared himself for Germany. Again, it's very unsure on how much game time he will get, but for Bayern this season, when he's been coming on, he's been obviously a great impact player. He scored plenty of important goals, and it'd be interesting to see if Germany use him in a similar fashion. So Musiala makes up my honourable mentions. And yeah, that's it for today's Euro 21 video. Now, I do plan to make a few more of these over the next week or so. So if you did enjoy this video and you do want to see some more Euro 21 content, please hit that like button to let me know. And also in the comment section, I want to see some names of players that I've missed off my list. There's plenty out there. There's loads of players that obviously, you know, that are at more obscure teams that maybe that I have not picked up on, who've done well at club level. So let me know down in the comments below. I'll check them all out. But until next time, take care.